Okay, great. It's good to see everybody. Great to see such a good turnout for the annual meeting. I first want to thank all of you for welcoming me to Westfield and the Athenaeum. I have now been here just short of 8 months, and already so many people have come forward with their support and encouragement. All the board members have made a point of offering me their support and their counsel, and many members of the community have reached out to me to offer assistance if I needed it. I really appreciate that. Let me say here that I appreciate the warm welcome I have received. I already feel like a member of the community, and I would argue strongly that your support has made my beginning here truly a pleasurable experience. I feel that we're really off to a great start, and I look forward to continuing the hard work we have initiated on so many levels over the last several months. So I'm going to advance forward here. This is the building closed. Before we talk about our future plans and projects, we must take a few minutes to look back at the last year. I don't think I need to tell anyone here it's been a difficult year. In fact, in my 38 years in the library museum field, I have never seen such an unprecedented series of events. And I have never seen libraries face such difficult and unforeseen conditions. Who would have thought in the first months of 2019 that we would face such difficult challenges with absolutely no guidance from past experience? American public libraries have been around since the middle of the 19th century, more than 150 years, and never before this last year were libraries forced to close their buildings for the better part of a year. But the way our board and staff reacted to those absolutely unforeseen challenges is truly a great example of people working together to find solutions and carry on in the face of adversity. I'm really proud of the way everyone came together to keep our essential services operating under the worst possible conditions. In fact, at this point, I have to address a statement that I heard time and time again from well-meaning people around town. I've heard a number of people say that we were closed during the worst months of the pandemic, that we were closed most of a year. But the simple truth, but that simply isn't true. Yes, our building was closed, but our services continued at full steam through most of the last year. Our staff showed amazing levels of resiliency and perseverance, and they came up with a number of creative ways to continue offering high-quality information services even during the worst periods of the pandemic. We were actually only completely closed with no services offered for approximately 2 months, just 2 months. By May of 2020, remember everything closed in March, by May of 2020, our librarians worked out the logistics and came up with a completely new way of providing access to our materials. They called this new service Library to Go, and this completely new way of operating turned out to be highly successful and very popular with our patrons. By providing assistance by telephone and online, and then making our books and audiovisual materials available at the door for quick pickup, we were able to offer high-quality services and still keep our staff safe. In fact, when we started to open the building again, one of the things that made several patrons come up to me and said, "I hope you're not doing away with Library to Go. I really like that service." It gives a sense of how successful that program was. And I think I have a slide to show that, So while we were supposedly closed, we provided approximately 60,000 items, books, audio-visual materials, children's materials that could be checked out, to 9,604 users. That's an average of 800 patrons a month using our services during the time that we were supposedly closed. And I think this is interesting too. We averaged 250 items checked out every day by 40 patrons every day that we offered Library to Go services. So you can see we were very, very active during this whole period. In fact, we were also one of the few libraries in the region to provide homebound services. I've got another Homebound services. Our outreach librarian, Becky Blackburn, actually delivers books and other items to approximately 40 homebound individuals around town. And that service continued during most of the pandemic year. And I have to say, most libraries have stopped doing this. Westfield is one of the few libraries in New England that's still providing homebound services. And I think that's just very much to our credit. But this is just the beginning of the services we provide. Let me go on to another slide here. The Athenaeum has always provided a range of programs for the community. But with the building shut down, how do you go about hosting a program? Our librarians went to work and found a number of ways to provide programs online. Of course, most of us now are familiar with using Zoom. I bet you there's not a person in here that hasn't used Zoom once, or another, and probably most of you have used it about 200 times. But I don't think most people realize how hard it is to set up a successful program that might involve 30 or 40 people and make it work online. That's really, really hard to do. But our tech-savvy librarians in both the adult services department, led by Department Head Kelsey Soa, and our youth services department, led by Department Head Olivia Iberle, worked out a number of ways to provide excellent programs in a variety of online formats, including Zoom, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, several other communication channels. They know all about all these different channels that you can use these days. Let's start with Facebook. You can see from these numbers, our social media librarian, Gretchen Homeyer, she produced a lot of these programs that were on Facebook. As you can see there, 250 videos went up on Facebook and were viewed by 60,000 views during the year. 8,200 people have viewed a live Facebook program in the last year coming from the Athenaeum. In fact, our program has been so successful this past year that several other libraries around the region have been calling us to ask us how we do this. This has become well known, if you around Massachusetts. It's like the Westfield Athenaeum is really doing some of the most innovative online programming out there. We've established a reputation of being if you want to find out how to do online programming, call the Westfield Athenaeum. They can fill you in. And so let me go on to another slide here. But our programs doesn't stop there. Let's just take a minute to, I forgot, I'm jumping ahead here. Yes, our pre-recorded videos. One of the biggest ones, Bob Brown, who's here, where are you? Yeah, there we go, yes. His 13 history chats were viewed, as you can see, 11,174 times, and that's so far. They're viewed on a regular basis that continues to go up there. So that's been a very, very successful program. There's a lot of interest in history, and Bob's done a great job of putting out these history chats that are really if you haven't had a chance to do those, go on the website. They're really interesting and really informative. But our program doesn't stop there. Let's just take a look at our youth services department. Since the pandemic hit, they have provided 150 programs for children under the age of 11. These programs were viewed 26,583 times. They also organized 94 programs for teens aged 12 to 18. These programs were viewed more than 8,000 times. And teens, that's a difficult audience to get into the library and get them involved. So I think that's really impressive. Mary Regan, one of our children's librarians, recorded 72 story time programs that were watched by 13,252 individual views. Youth Services answered 3,450 questions, either over the phone or in person. BrainFuse, which is our new online homework help service, was used 1,582 times, which really provides a lot of really essential help for students who need homework assistance. Let me go on to the next one here. Summer reading program. During the height of the pandemic last summer, 2020, we still were able to sign up 125 children, 46 teens, and 66 adults. And you can see in 2021, we definitely went up. But I think what's significant is the fact that we were able, during the pandemic, to still have that many people participating with the summer reading program, with the building not being accessible there. As one patron commented after using the children's library, thank you for this wonderful service you offer. Another service we offer that's often overlooked is CWMRs, the Regional Library Consortium. So many people think of libraries as places where you walk in, look for a book, and then check it out, take the book home and to read it. Of course, this is still the way many people use the library, but there are so many new electronic services that have become vitally available. And this gives you a sense here. CWMRs just set a record of 1.8 million electronic titles loaned. So in addition to providing a service where you can come into the library, if we don't have the book, we can get it from another library in the Central and Western Mass region. But they also provide electronic books, audio books, online, and this sort of thing. And you can see 1.8 million of those electronic books were checked out. But let me just point out something else. At first it's a little hard to know how to use that service when you first get on the computer and you're trying to. It's a little confusing. Our librarians spend a lot of time helping people get started and learn how to use this great service there. But also too, another thing, along with the 1.8 million electronic titles, that established, as you can see, that established CWMRs as one of the top 25 public library consortia in the world. So the regional system we're a part of is one of the best 25 in the world. And the Westfield Athenaeum is one of the top 10 libraries in central and western Massachusetts for the distribution of electronic books. We're a leader in that field as well. So the Westfield Athenaeum is a leader both in providing online programming and providing, through the CWMR system, more books than many libraries that are much larger than we are. So I think that's really to the credit of our staff that put these programs together. In the spring, as the vaccine became readily available and more people were protected, we began the process of reopening the building. There were still a lot of unanswered questions about how we could go about doing that without endangering our patrons or our staff. We had to work out a number of logistical challenges. Again, as I said earlier, these are totally unprecedented times. Libraries have never faced anything like this. But on March 22nd, still with a lot of people not vaccinated yet, I hadn't been able to get my vaccine at this point. Most of our younger staff were still unvaccinated. We opened the building by appointment on March 22nd of this year. And things went very, very smoothly. We were really concerned about how it would go. It went great. Then on June 21st, we did away with the need for any kind of appointment. We reopened the building with no restrictions. Again, people were concerned about that. Things were starting to look very good because of vaccines. Most people were vaccinated by that point, but there were still real issues. And then, of course, the Delta variant. There were still a lot of questions, but everything went very smoothly. I think our procedures worked very, very well. As we went through the process of reopening this summer, it was necessary to hire additional staff. And through the course of the pandemic, we lost a number of staff members through retirement or people who just didn't feel comfortable working under pandemic conditions. And so through the course of the since May of this year, as we were starting the process of reopening, we've welcomed 5 new staff members to the Athenaeum family. And and I think that's we really built up our staff in a very positive way. But we can't forget that the Athenaeum is much more than just a public library. Although the library is a central function, we also have an art museum and a history museum. We look to integrate those functions more fully with our library programs as we move forward. And of course, just up there in the reception there, the picture of the person straight through with the black dress, white mask. That's Ensign Russell, the artist of the paintings you saw upstairs. If you didn't have a chance to really take a close look at that, I really suggest coming back and taking a closer look. The exhibit is only up for one more week. So get back in to see this exhibit, because I think she's doing some of the most original art of any of the artists in Western Mass right now. So I think this is a great show. It's great to see us reopen the art gallery, and we have a whole lineup coming up. On November 8th, we're going to open a show that's going to feature the Athenaeum's own collection of art. We're calling it Untold Stories, because some of these paintings haven't been seen in years by the public. They've been in storage. So we're going to pull out a real variety of interesting paintings, many that haven't been seen before. We actually have a very good collection of art done by Westfield artists going back to the mid-19th, even early 19th century, and we're going to feature those collections with our next exhibit. And then that exhibit will go through January, I think January 22nd is the end date for that exhibit. And then we're going to open an exhibit of the art of Ruth Kerr, who's also a leading artist in Western Mass. She's been in galleries all over the United States. We're going to feature her work. One of the themes that she works with her art is women's issues. She uses Greek mythology and other kind of ancient stories to reinterpret through a feminist perspective. So it should be a really interesting exhibit. Her work is very interesting. And so look for that exhibit in February and March of next year. We are also implementing major changes to our history museum. We are in the process of renovating a space in the read room just above us here. We're in the process of doing renovations. We're adding exhibit cases, and these exhibit cases are very large. They're going to be 4 feet deep. They're floor to 8 or 9 feet high. So there's a lot of room inside. One of the cases is going to run about 20 feet long, and then we have a second case that's about 12 feet long. So this will allow us to do a really comprehensive overview exhibit of Westfield history, 350 years of Westfield history in one of the exhibit cases. And then the other exhibit case will be used for changing exhibits that will rotate every 3 or 4 months or so. And so I think by bringing this down to the main floor, one of the problems with the Edmund Smith Museum room that's upstairs, I'm sure many of you have been up there, is it's up a narrow staircase, it's not handicap accessible, and anytime it's open, we have to have staff up there because it's such a nice later room. Now we'll be able to have a really strong history exhibit presence on the main floor of the library. So that means that anytime the library is open, you can see something on Westfield history, and you can see the artifacts. We estimate now, we're still in the early planning stages for the exhibit, but we estimate that we'll be able to exhibit over 100 historic artifacts from the collection in the exhibits downstairs and really give a nice picture. It also gives us, many of the exhibits that are up in the museum upstairs haven't been reworked for, in some cases, 20 or 30 years. So this gives us a chance to go back to those exhibits, reinterpret them, update them, and so I think that'll be really exciting to see some of the new exhibits coming up. So the plan, what we're hoping to do is obviously keep the great library programs going, the library services going, as we have in the past, and the staff are working diligently on looking for new programming opportunities, new services that can be offered, new electronic services. For instance, a thing that we've just started offering now are hotspots. I don't know if you know what these are, but you can take a hotspot out, for people who maybe have limited internet access. They can check out a hotspot and use that for access, for maybe a student who his family doesn't have an internet connection or something, he can check out a hotspot, go online to do his homework or do a theme paper or something. So we're really excited about that. That is a brand new service. We're always looking for things like that we can do to improve our library services. But we're going to also integrate the art museum more into our programming. We're going to schedule different programs to fit with our art exhibits. And when we get the history exhibit placed, when we're able to finish the renovations of that building, and we get those history exhibits in place, we'll be able to offer programs related to the history of Westfield. So I think this is going to really make for a very rich experience. What we're going for is we want the Westfield Athenaeum to be the cultural center of the city. We want to make people feel that for cultural activities, this is the place to come. And I'm really excited. I think we've got a great, with the resources we have, with the collection, the art collections, the history collections, and the facilities. We've got, if you look at the Rand Art Gallery up there, it's a great space for exhibiting art. And so I think we can really take advantage of our infrastructure and the quality of our staff and our board and really move forward and provide a variety of really high-quality services for the patrons of Westfield. Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Thank you for welcoming me here. I'm excited to work with all of you in the future. It's been nice to meet many of you tonight.